Ash from Super Videos, back for another comic book review. So this is going to be my review and discussion for issue 164 of The Walking Dead, which is called A Fallen House. So if you remember, we ended up last issue with the cliffhanger where the Saviors were looking at Alexandria and waiting for the herd to take care of the survivors so they can just roll in and take care of the rest afterwards. But in this issue, we pick up from the perspective of Maggie, Carl, Jesus, and Lydia. So it's basically from the cover of this issue, or where the cover of this issue originated from. So we have Maggie and Carl looking at a destroyed Alexandria. Of course, Carl is shocked, and there's a part of him that thinks that his father is dead and that everybody at Alexandria is dead. But Jesus and Maggie and also Lydia reassure him that the survivors at Alexandria are strong enough to pull their weight and survive this. So we have the moment where Maggie is saying, I can't just sit back, I have to go out there and help them. Of course, Carl wants to do the same, but Maggie persuades him to stay and take care of the people that are safe right now. We have Maggie, Jesus, Michonne, and some other survivors riding on their horse towards Alexandria to help them. Then we jump back to Alexandria itself. We have Rick and Negan kind of running away from the herd that has just made their way into Alexandria. We have Negan saying, "You cripple, keep up," to Rick, which is pretty funny. Then he says, "Don't make me throw your ass over my shoulder." So it seems like Negan does respect Rick a little bit. And then in this specific issue, we just see how much Negan really respects Rick, which is pretty cool. Negan says screw it. He runs towards the door, and then he's at the door, and then Rick is saying wait. And then there's a moment where Negan has this look as if he's going to close the door and leave Rick behind. And, be safe in the house, but let Rick be out there and be killed by the walkers. But we see that Negan grabs Rick's hand and pulls him in and closes the door. So that scene was very intense. It was pretty awesome. I really loved it. And it just shows again how much Negan has come to respect Rick. And how much he's trying to make Rick not only respect him, but also trust him. So that's pretty cool. And then once they're inside and they're safe, Negan says, "You thought I was going to leave you behind, didn't you?" Which is pretty cool, and it's actually pretty accurate, because I'm pretty sure that's what Rick was thinking. If you look at his eyes when he says, wait, you can see fear in his eyes and a feeling of, oh no, I'm about to be left out and I'm gonna have to survive. How am I gonna do that? So it's pretty cool that Negan saw through Rick and he knew exactly what Rick was thinking. And then Negan goes on to say that you and I are alike. We don't run away from fear. We go straight for it and we try to make things work. Everybody else just ran for cover. They didn't care about you. They didn't care about me. And that they are not strong. They're weak and they can't survive in a world like this. And then we get a shot of the outside of the house or the building that Rick and Negan are stuck in, and we see there are walkers everywhere. So every part of Alexandria is surrounded by walkers at the moment, which is pretty weird to think about it, because Alexandria is the only safe haven they have right now. And it seems like that is destroyed as well. So it's very cool to see, but it doesn't really make us feel good, because we know that if they survive this, they can't come back to Alexandria anymore. Since we've been at Alexandria for so long, we feel like whether or not the group is going to find another place, because we don't want them to go back to walking around and trying to survive anymore. We want them to have a safe and stable community. So it's going to be difficult for us to watch Alexandria fall apart, which again connects to the title of this issue, which is A Fallen House. So I thought that was very interesting. Then we have Andrea sounding the horn and trying to attract the walkers towards her. There's this specific image of Andrea on the horse with this horn on her hand. I really love this image. I think it's very cool, and it kind of shows the scenery, which is pretty cool. Then we get a shot of different people at Alexandria that have got to a safe location, and there's a moment where two of them walk into Eugene's house and they see this radio. So it's gonna be cool whether or not they're gonna communicate with the radio group as well, or if they just find this. But it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with that. But it's cool that we get this shot of people at different places and it looks like they've given up, that they're weak, and it kind of parallels what Negan is saying. Negan is telling Rick that everyone is weak, so I thought that was a good parallel situation that they showcased here. And then we get to a point where Negan asks Rick, what's the single worst thing you've ever done? And his face is a serious face, because when you have an image of Negan, you can usually tell if he's being sarcastic, if he's being funny, or if he's legitimately trying to get an answer, and if he's being serious. And in this case, I really feel like Negan is seriously asking Rick, what's the worst thing you've done? Because to himself, he knows everything he's done. He knows the bad things he's had to do, and he's just wondering. So there's this part of him that is curious to know what kind of bad things Rick has done. So that's pretty cool. And then we have Rick kind of cuss him, and of course we have Negan saying, it may be arrogant of me to say, but you seem to be using this word more when I'm around. So that was pretty funny as well. But then we have Rick actually replying to Negan, which kind of shows the respect Rick has for Negan as well. Because if Rick treats Negan just as another villain, as another person who has killed his people, he wouldn't be replying to him, wouldn't be talking to him. But for Rick to actually talk to Negan and reply to him, it shows that there's a little bit of respect. Maybe very little, but still there. And that respect seems to have been growing, because of course Negan did save Rick, not once in the last issue, but twice in this issue as well. So for Rick, it seems like there's a part of him that is thinking, maybe it's not a bad idea to trust Negan now and try to see if we can work together. So then we have Rick actually replying to Negan's question, which is, what's the single worst thing you've done? Rick says, live. The worst thing he's done is live when others who deserved to live didn't. So that basically connects to the people he has lost. And then we have Negan breaking down a little bit, because once Rick says that, Negan kind of gets a teary eye in a way and opens up to Rick, which is very interesting. He tells him about his wife, Lucille, who died, and he was weak. He couldn't kill her. He couldn't do what needed to be done. And that is always going to be in his conscience, and he's not going to be able to forget that. So Negan is kind of opening up to Rick. So that's very cool to see. It's a very powerful scene here where Negan and Rick are talking, and Negan is opening up to Rick. So I really enjoy this. I very much like where they're going with Negan's story and what they're doing with him. And throughout his opening up, Negan actually apologizes to Rick for killing Glenn, which is also very powerful. We have Negan saying, I know what I've done is wrong, but it's because I lost hope in humanity. I thought that I was doing him a favor by killing him, because then he wouldn't be in this world. He wouldn't have to live in this world anymore. But now I understand that I was wrong. So it looks like it's a very sincere apology, which is pretty cool to see. And so by the end of that conversation, Rick now knows about Negan's wife and what Negan had to go through, which, if you think about it, is very similar to what Rick has gone through. He's lost his wife as well. So it's cool how both Rick and Negan are opening up to one another. Of course, Negan a bit more, but also how there's some parallel between Rick's story and Negan's story. Something that Negan sees straight through, because he says we are alike. So that was very cool. I really loved it, and I thought this conversation between Negan and Rick was the highlight of this issue. I really enjoyed it. Then there's this scene with Heath and Eugene talking to one another. Both feel as if they can't find a way to be useful anymore. Eugene because he's not a great fighter, and Heath because he lost his leg and he hasn't been the same ever since. And so they feel like both of them would be more useful if they do the things that they feel would have some benefit for everyone. And they both kind of connect in a way by sharing this piece of information and by talking to each other about their story and about their feeling, which is pretty cool. And I would like to see more of characters, not just Heath and Eugene, but more characters connecting and talking to each other, revealing things about themselves that we don't know about them. Then we have Dwight firing a shot, trying to distract the herd and move them away from Alexandria, which was pretty cool as well. And then there's a moment where the herd starts thinning because the others outside Alexandria are kind of moving the herd away, so the herd at Alexandria itself starts thinning. And then we have Negan looking out and saying that the walkers seem to be moving away. Rick gets up and then Negan stops him and says that I can't help you if you fall outside. It's going to be a risk. You're going to get both of us killed. I want you to stay here and cover me, and I'll go out there and help everyone. So I really love that, and it just shows that Negan does truly care about the community. He may not show it, but he does definitely care. Now, it might just be that he respects Rick and is doing that for Rick, is trying to impress Rick in a way, but also, whatever his intentions are, we see that Negan is actually going out there and getting his hands dirty and trying to help, which is pretty cool. Then there's another scene where we have Carl talking to everyone and saying that we can't sit back anymore, we need to go out there and help everyone, which just shows how much of a leadership characteristics Carl has gained throughout the series and how much of a leader he is now, which is very cool to see. I really love this scene as well, and I just think that it's very important for Carl's character development for us to get this scene with him acting and calling orders and telling everyone what to do. So that was very cool. And then we have the end, the cliffhanger, where we come back to the Saviors. So it came full circle. The end of last issue ended with the Saviors. The end of this issue ended with the Saviors as well. And it's kind of like the same kind of cliffhanger. So I'm not sure if they needed this, but it was a cool ending. But again, like I said, they did the same thing last issue. So did they really need to do the same thing? I would rather have seen the end be with Carl's speech, because I thought that was a very powerful speech. So that would have been an amazing way to end the issue. So I didn't think they would need to come back to the Saviors again. But it's cool as well. So they come back to the Saviors, and the Saviors basically say that the herd seem to be moving away. We need to go in and clean up what's left. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Saviors and how that's going to work out with the herd that's already in there. Of course, this is going to be something that's going to be explored in the next issue, which is very cool. I'm really looking forward to the next issue. So in terms of a rating, I'm going to give this issue a low mid-grade rating. I thought it was a good issue, even though there wasn't a lot of action other than the first scene with everyone trying to get to their houses. But I thought there was a lot of great character development and conversations between characters like Negan and Rick, which was the highlight, but also Eugene and Heath and Carl's speech. So I thought this issue was good, not because of it being an action-packed issue, but because of how much it showcased what the characters were feeling and how much they connected with other characters and the conversations that they had with each other. Like I said, even though it wasn't action-packed, I really enjoyed it. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for another video.